Hey, what's up, guys? It's Cal with the Denver Podcast and Short Films. How's it going, guys? This is the first podcast I'm recording. I'm going to break it down a little bit. The reason why I'm doing the podcast is because I love podcasts now. I've been listening to a lot of the Bill Burr Monday morning podcasts and the Joe Rogan Experience. If you guys don't know what those are, look them up on YouTube. They're freaking hilarious. Uh, but still listen to mine. Granted, once you start listening to them, they have a lot more experience, obviously. They're adults, they're in their 40s and whatnot. So obviously they're going to have a lot more interesting things to talk about and whatnot. So granted, I might have just cut my own throat by telling you guys that if you don't know who they are, but whatever. They deserve it more than I do. They're great comedians and they're great podcast hosts. So yeah. Anyways, moved to Denver here recently from Wisconsin. It's freaking great here. There's so much stuff to do. We've gone hiking, mountain biking, boating, literally just everything. It's been so great here. Just even walking here is 10 times better. The air is it just smells better. Granted, that's just because it's like mountain air and there's like less air here. Losing a crap ton of weight just being here. Lost like 10 pounds in the first like week and a half or whatever, and it's just like wow. So that's there's so many upsides to being here. But anyways, the main reason why I'm here is because my uncle, he's a videographer, photographer, video editor, and director of production basically at Access TV here, and I'm trying to get into the same line of work that he's in. So yeah, that's pretty much my goal, and I mean, he's big into the industry as well. Like I didn't realize how big he was because a few years ago I'd known that he was like recording for the Denver Nuggets, and doing some random sporting events. But now it's like now anytime there's UFC fights, MMA fights here in the Denver area, he goes and sits cage side and records that. Um, he just got back from a tour with the Plain White Tees. And speaking of the UFC thing, the next time there's a UFC fight in the Denver area, I will be sitting cage side right next to him. So that'll be the most great thing in the world. Because I recently, not super recently, but recently got into the UFC a lot more. It's a great sport, and yeah, really awesome. So can't wait to go do that. But yeah, he just got off a tour with the Plain White Tees. If you guys are like spacing about who they are again, but it's like I know the name, but I don't really know their songs. They did "Hey There Delilah," the "Lovey Dovey 1 2 3 4" song. Um, but yeah, so really cool, really cool. We uh, we were actually doing an interview also a few days ago with a famous jazz musician, and that was really awesome because I just got to tag along, help him set up gear, and got paid for it. And then we went to downtown Denver and recorded a what you call it. We recorded an interview with the composers of the Colorado Symphony, and that was really awesome as well. Got to meet them obviously and sit there on the interview and help them set up the gear again. And then the next day we went to Red Rocks Amphitheater where the Colorado Symphony and this famous jazz musician by the name of Anders. Trying to think of his name. Dang, can't think of his last name right now. But yeah, so we got to do an interview with them as well, and I was sitting in the room with him and his wife and all that kind of stuff, and it's great. Um, so yeah, my uncle's pretty big into the industry, so that's it's really really cool, and really it's almost like a privilege to go on these trips with him. But I'm also getting paid for it, so it's like a super win-win scenario. Yeah, so it's really really cool. Yeah, no, I keep saying really, really a lot. But anyways, yeah, being in the Denver area, man, this is just the place to be. That's all I can keep saying to people. It's the place. I've been going to a lot of improv comedy things since you guys know I like Bill Burr and Joe Rogan. I'm actually trying to be a stand-up comedian myself. I don't expect to get super big in my lifetime or anything. I'd just like to be a comedian, maybe even just at like local places and whatnot. So I've been doing a lot of improv comedy, and actually I'm going to an open mic here in a few weeks in downtown Denver. So I forget what the name of the place is, otherwise I'd tell you guys. So you can go see me there. Granted, there's only going to be like 15 people who listen to the first podcast. Got to get more subscribers and whatnot. But yeah, that'll be really fun. The short films part of my channel, just going to be doing random stuff, whether I'm in the mountains snowboarding or I just uploaded the first video on the channel, which was it's called Driving Down the Rockies, and we're in my uncle's friend's fully stocked BMW flying down the Rockies at 100 miles an hour. So that was really cool. So if you guys want to go check that out, it's only like a 2 minute video, but it's just kind of a cool perspective. We got some really cool camera angles because of the we had a GoPro cam, so we strapped that to the outside of the car, and kept stopping and putting switching the angle on it and whatnot. So this is kind of cool, and I was in the back seat, so I got some all right footage. Used more of the GoPro outside view camera though, just because obviously I kind of had a better view, a little more steady. But anyways, fantastic stuff. Let me break it down into what I did last night. I went and saw the Wolverine. The Wolverine, man. Hugh is just a badass. Like, he's the definition of man. Whenever I see him, like, I just think, man. He's just a stud, and the movie was pretty good. I thought that they could have changed the last 15, 20 minutes up, and the movie would have been, like, a 9 out of 10. If I had to give it a rating, I would say, like, 7.5 out of 10. That's probably right where I'd be at. Not quite a 7, a little bit better than a 7, because it did have a good amount going for it. But spoiler, if you haven't seen the movie, skip ahead 1 minute. But spoiler, I just didn't like how at the end that the old man was the one in the robot suit, and I didn't like the whole role of that Venom Snake lady. Like, I don't know if it was just the way they portrayed her character or how basically how they represented her, but like. And the fact that her death was kind of anticlimactic. Granted, her death was B.A., the freaking pink-haired Japanese girl doing some swindle-dipping flips and just freaking wrapped the cord around her neck, dropped her down an elevator shaft. The elevator shaft bashes in her freaking skull, and then she's just hanging there. Obviously she got hung. So, just sweet. It was just like, oh, that's great. But then it was just like, it was kind of funny. Like, they made her seem like she was God, and then all of a sudden, like, she was dead in, like, half a second. So it was, it was all right. Like the ending, I thought what was gonna happen was, remember when she put that thing on his heart to like slow down his healing powers and whatnot. I thought that she was a shapeshifter as well, which would kind of make sense because I thought she also had the ability to turn into a snake, based on some of the stuff in the trailers. So I thought that she was like Jean, like almost making Wolverine believe that he was in a dream by being like, "Oh, hey," but then like it dawned on me that like she would have no idea who Jean was really. But then how she like kissed him and then like like spit that thing basically into his heart or whatever. I thought that what she was gonna do at the end was try to like mimic the girl, the Japanese girl, Yashido. No, that's the Yoshida is the whatchamacallit. That's the main dude. That's the old dude. Man, Yamiko. Anyways, that the main Japanese girl, not the pink-haired one, the other one. I thought that she was gonna try to copy her, like, and shapeshift into her like permanently, so that she could take over the company, which I thought would have been a way more plausible and great ending, to be honest. But no, just every freaking ending in movies now, giant robots and blah. Like I'm freaking OD'd on aliens and robots for like the next 15 years. I'm not gonna go see another movie with aliens and robots. I'm sorry. The only other movie that I'm gonna see with any form of robotics in the near future is Elysium, because I like District 9. I like Matt Damon, and the trailer actually looks kind of good. Like, I really like the whole like plot behind it. Like, we have to get there because I'm dying, so I have to get to basically the Halo planet that's above the Earth or whatever. And it's like, okay, that's like the last one I'm gonna see though. I can't handle it. I can't handle these movies that are just like giant robots. Ah! It's like, yes, more giant robots. Sweet. Just like I'm OD'd on freaking trapped in house movies with killers on the outside trying to get in. There was The Purge, where it's like, we're trying to get in there. We're all wearing masks and trying to kill you and get inside. Then there was like 2 movies even before that. I'm completely spacing on the names, but I watched them somewhat recently. And of course, the scenario is always stupid, like, oh, the home phone line is cut, and for some reason our cell phones don't have signals. And it's like, of course they don't. Or you're in a place where there are no cops, really. And then all of a sudden we're sitting there for Wolverine, and one of the trailers pops up. I forget the name of the thing, but there's nice family sitting in the dining room, and then all of a sudden, dude looks out the window, gets shot in the head with an arrow. They're trying to get in the house. We have to get out of here. And it's like, oh my god, really? Another trapped in the house movie? Like, at some point, like, honestly, if I were ever in that scenario, I would go BA mode. I would grab, like, the first close hard object. They're in a house. Grab a knife. Grab a fork. Grab a hammer. Grab a leg of a chair. I don't care what you grab. I would literally just wait. I would literally just go super ninja assassin mode and just like wait in one spot in the house, in like a darkened spot of the house. And the second I saw one dude just come out, freaking stab him in the neck twice, I'm not gonna miss. You have to be retarded to miss. Granted, there's a chance that they could dodge it or whatever the scenario is, but if you know anything about, I'm in the UFC and whatnot a lot right now too, so I know a lot about basic takedowns and whatnot. So if you just get them off balance, off weight, you're on top of them, shove that thing in the side of their neck, they're done. I don't care how many dudes there are. There was like 15 people in that house, and I'm assuming there's not 15 dudes outside. Just stupid. I hate those movies. Anyways, enough with that rant. Sorry guys. Sorry, just frustrating. Almost like when movies have a really great first movie and then they're like, ooh, let's milk a sequel. Ooh, let's milk a trilogy. Ooh, let's milk freaking a spin-off. Like, oh my god, just give it a rest. So many greedy people that just ruin movie and basically entire franchises single-handedly by making stupid sequels. I can't even, I'm so frustrated about it right now, I can't even think of a scenario, or a movie that was like, oh man, the first one was great, but then the second, third one sucked balls. But there's literally just a list of those movies out there. Leave comments below if you can think of any of them, by the way. Speaking of awesome entertainment on TVs and whatnot, Breaking Bad. Sorry, I've just been giving that a lot of thought recently. Who hasn't, though? Breaking Bad, greatest drama TV series of all time, in my opinion. And there's a reason for it. Bryan Cranston, Walt from Breaking Bad, he's won 3 Emmys in a row, all back to back to back. And he was going up against great people, some characters from Game of Thrones, the dude from Dexter. There's even just as big ones out there. I'm just spacing out what they were, but he's dominated them every single year. And I know they're all sitting there like, how the hell do we beat this guy? But you can't, man. Breaking Bad is just too good. I've watched a little bit of Dexter. I've watched Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is actually that is a great show from what I've seen. I've only seen a few episodes of it. Going to be trying to watch more of it now just because of how good it actually is. But I'm sorry, you just can't beat Breaking Bad. You just can't. It's a show about crystal meth, and the show itself is crystal meth. It's just like, I need to fucking watch another episode, man. Just one more. You know what I'm saying? You just can't stop. Once you start, you're like, well, what the hell happens now? And the last part on Breaking Bad, it's season 5, episode 8, the last episode they released up until when the episode 9 comes out, August 11th, 2013. Spoiler alert, Hank, the DEA agent, finds out about Walt, basically, from what it makes it seem like. He has this flashback because he finds this book in Walt's bathroom that says to WW, my star, my perfect silence. And so it's just pretty crazy because he has an epiphany oh my gosh. I don't think he realizes the extent of how well Walt is into the game. Maybe he'll put it together because he knows that Walt is a chemist and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he'll put it together, but I don't think he quite knows how big he's into it right now. So that'll just be completely awesome to see where that goes. Cannot wait at all. It's gonna be great. That's the first TV series that I'm actually gonna be sitting at the TV waiting for it and make a night out of it. I don't often sit at the TV. Usually I'm just watching it online or whatever for free after the fact, when it comes out a few months later, all that kind of jazz. But no, this I'm definitely going to be making the time just to sit there and watch it. Fantastico. But so trying to think of a few other subjects to talk about, to be honest. Like I said, Denver, man, this is just the place to be. Everything here is fantastic. I went from Wisconsin to Denver, so it's going from freaking people in work boots, camo hats, and Fox t-shirts, aka redneck douchebags. I'm gonna take the muffler off. This is one of the conversations I had with a group of redneck people. I had put a cold air intake to give my truck an extra 50 horses or so, and blah blah blah, and took the muffler off my car. So yeah, and I was like, first off, I'm no expert at cars. But a cool air intake, I don't think that adds 50 horsepower. I think that adds 5 to 10. And not to mention the fact that it's wait, doesn't a muffler limit the sound? Therefore, you're taking it off to be as loud and obnoxious as possible? Are you retarded? I don't know why that's so badass to them. It's just like the South Park with the Harley things. Just If you guys watch South Park at all, gosh, I love that episode. But basically, it's that exact scenario, but for rednecks, where I come from. Completely ridiculous. I love being out in Denver. It's way more progressive. People dress way nicer here. People are way nicer here. People are way smarter here. It's just, the list goes on and on. It's fantastic here in Denver. Not to mention the ganj. Oh my god, that's all I can just. I'm gonna, jet in on that and say that real quick. Just, I got some stuff the first day I got here, and I didn't get much because I just wanted to. I'm trying to get a job and whatnot, and they still do like piss tests out here and whatnot. So I just did a little bit of it when I first got out here, but I got shit, and it looked like it was from Mars, man. It was just. If you go on Google Images right now and type in plushberry pot or plushberry weed, exactly how it sounds, plushberry. Yeah, you'll see the stuff. It's like yellow, orange, red hairs, purple, green, dark green, lime green. Like it's literally just unearthly, and the amount of freaking crystals on it was literally just like ridiculous. Like I was like shaking the bud, and like literally just sugar was falling off of it. It was like what? Not to mention what I paid for it, which I won't go into that either. But gosh, it's just fantastic out here. Because we're paying, back in Wisconsin, states where it's not really medicinal or legal or anything by that nature, we're paying like $3.50 for an ounce. Yeah, think of that for a second. Granted, most people know that if they are pretty big into the pot industry, but isn't that ridiculous? Like when I found out how I actually got this stuff out here too was on Craigslist. I was like, how am I gonna get stuff? And I was like, oh, Craigslist, pot. And it was like, pot, free delivery, blah, 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 blah. Text the dude, hey, what's up, guy? Hey, what's up, what you need? This, 30 minutes later, front door. I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Oh, it's the best thing. Best thing. But, yeah, anyways, so that was pretty fantastic. I'm infinitely excited to be out here. I just need to get a job, get my own apartment, and then I will be getting back into the marijuana-ness of the life because I've been missing it, but I don't mind taking a little break from it since I was doing it every day, all day back in Wisconsin for like the past 9 months, so that was kind of a mistake in a way because you just kind of like sit there and it gets to a point where it's like it honestly did become like sort of not an addiction but a habit because but I almost don't blame myself. That's just because there was nothing to do where I came from. Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, there's nothing to do at all. You can go bowling, you can go to the movie theater, and that's it. And once you've gone bowling 650 times, once you've seen every freaking movie in the theater, it's like, oh my god, what do we do, guys? Well, we could smoke pot, or we could kill ourselves. And it's like, I kind of want to live, I guess. Just because this won't last forever, but yeah. So I just opted to pick up and leave and become my uncle's apprentice in the dark side. So yeah, that'll be the life in a few months once I get a job and whatnot. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to start stockpiling that sort of thing, and like I said, get my own place out here. If you're in the Denver area, and to be more specific, Arvada, hit me up. Leave me a message or a comment or whatever, and if you want to hang out and chill and whatever the situation is. If you're also big on YouTube or whatever, I would love to get an interview with you. That's one of my goals that I'm going to be trying to do with this podcast is to get local people here that have pretty big YouTubes and YouTube subscriber count as in, and try to get some private interviews and maybe even do a podcast with some of them, which that'll be really cool. Like I honestly think that will be that'll be really cool. I just have to kind of get a few subscribers. So if you guys would love to subscribe, maybe you wouldn't love to, but if you guys are like me, I guess I'll click the subscribe button. This dude is entertaining enough. That would be greatly appreciated, just so that I can have some credibility myself once I present myself to these local Denver people, and then you guys will also be getting better content and whatnot. So I can't wait for my friends to be on the podcast with me. They're all smart, and they all have a lot of goals and aspirations in life and whatnot, and they're all just really smart and wise people. So hopefully when they get on the podcast, we can kind of go into more detail on certain things and whatnot, which, we talk about everything. We talk about space, we talk about religion, half of my friends are Christians, half of them are atheists, so it's just kind of like, it always gets super duper interesting. And then like space, which I always go off on massive rants about space. There's so much craziness about space, like, and the fact that there's so much craziness about space, and the fact that we probably only know like 1%, and it's like, oh my gosh. Like, one little fun fact about space. I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is probably, in my opinion, one of his best podcasts ever. Just type that in on YouTube at some point. Joe Rogan, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Just listen to that podcast. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's like he's a astrophysicist, and he's just really wise, really smart. He knows his stuff. That's all I could say. He knows, and he knows that he knows. But one of the things that he said, which I actually knew before he said it, but it was the fact that we're only focusing on points in the universe where light is probably limiting our ability to see how much there actually is out there in the universe, due to the fact that once suns explode or implode, the gravitational fields switch, and therefore there's planets get launched out in tangent directions. And they become rogue planets, just literally like flying through space, but there's no light illuminating them, so that they're dark. So there's this theory that there might be as many rogue planets out there just flying through space, like as stars in a way. Well, obviously that's probably not it's probably not nearly as many, just because there's always like a million stars in a galaxy as opposed to a couple planets. But there's a lot of rogue planets out there probably just flying around, just trying to get in something else's orbit or crashing into things and whatnot, and just kind of crazy. One of my comedy bits is actually on space as well. It's the I go off on this rant like, okay, so if aliens do exist, I pray to God that they don't see us, because if they have the technology to see us, they're gonna be like, oh, check this out. This planet has some metals. It has all these good natural resources, but we don't want to start a war. War is bad, there's a chance that we can lose. So they'd send their scout down. They would be there and back in a flash at the speed of light and be like, hey, these creatures can barely get to their own moon and back. Oh yeah, send in the 50 Imperial cruisers, siphon the planet's resources. This shouldn't take more than a day and a half. It's just like ridiculous, because it's like, if there are aliens out there, we are screwed. If they could see us, we're screwed. It's just that simple. Just because if you're, that's the funny thing, is that we'd all be dead before we even knew it, pretty much. Because, probably be some sort of Death Star out there that just launched a freaking phaser beam at us and just vaporize us instantly. Like, we have nukes! Like, yeah, we have a Death Star. Just so stupid. Speaking of nukes, oh my gosh. One of my other pieces has to do with like nuclear devices and whatnot. Just because if you go on YouTube, I don't know if you guys have seen this video on YouTube, but there's this thing where like if you go and like type in like every nuke since like 1942 or 43 or something like that, or every atomic blast, and like it shows like all the countries and like all the nukes that they set off, where they set it off, and whatever. And it's just so funny, because if global warming does exist, our cars aren't the one doing it. Like, I'm pretty sure there was like over 3,000 atomic bomb / nuclear blasts that went off. And it's like, yeah, no, but my car is the one causing global warming. Not, the 5 megaton nuclear blast that freaking has the ability to, have super radiation that sits there for millions of years and freaking the most deadliest thing in the world. But yeah, no, it's my car. It's my car. Not to mention, if we have all these super missiles and nukes and all that kind of stuff and super battleships, why the hell do we even have foot soldiers, to be honest? Like, why do we have so many of them? Like, couldn't we just have one dude in a room like, hey, Costa Rica's giving us a problem. Oh, is that so? Huh. Well, let me just pop this out here and, yeah, Costa Rica's not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll get to that point one day, or we'll have like robotic soldiers or whatever. Like, it'll get to that point, but it's just kind of ridiculous to think about. Like, oh, we're losing so many lives. Like, why don't we just bomb them then? If we really want to kill them all, if we really want to have everything that freaking country has, we can just bomb them. But then, that would start a worldwide epidemic and panic. Like, oh my gosh, the U.S. is doing what they've always done. It's trucking in, not taking names, and freaking just destroying everything in their path. Like, there's so much stupid conspiracy that goes behind the government. It's literally disgusting. Like, did you know that fun fact, the U.S. government spends $200 million every hour that they do not have? Allow me to rephrase that. The U.S. government spends $200 million every single hour that they do not have. No, but we're getting out of debt. Like, okay, yeah, sure we are. We're just going to print $85 billion a month, and that way, the more money we print, the more money that'll be out there, and it'll get rid of our debt. But then you look at that, and it's like, huh, that's funny how every single country that has tried to do that in the last 100 years, which is like a list of like 15 different countries that have literally tried to do the exact same thing. Not like, oh, it's a little different though, because no, the exact same thing, have all utterly failed and imploded on themselves. Just look at Germany after World War II. Completely imploded. And that's like literally the same thing we're seeing here. I was reading this post on the New York Times that said there's this one like really smart dude, obviously he's posting on the New York Times, that says the next collapse that we see in the financial system and the basically the next Great Depression is going to make the 2008 decline look like a summer storm. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally believe that. There's like no doubt. The fact that we even considered for a second to print that like $1 trillion coin or whatever the frick that scenario was, so stupid. Like, just think about that for a second. We're gonna make this small golden coin and deposit it in the freaking bank. It's worth $1 trillion. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how stupid does that like sound? Like, just stating it like that. There's so many things. Like, I'm a fairly young guy, and it's just so funny how I feel like I could truck into the government and be like, hey, why don't you guys just not do that? Well, because the funny thing about turkey is that turkey meat is actually, yeah, that's what they always do. They always just change the subject. Like, you can talk to them about anything. That's all they do is change the subject. And it's like, okay, by changing the subject, you've accepted the fact that you lost, but you're trying to bring up something that you kind of support in a way, and therefore you don't, like, look as bad. It's just like, I could be a better president than any president in the last 50 years. There's no doubt there. But it's so stupid how everything has to be passed. I wish we lived in a dictatorship. Or I wish we had communism again. Like, seriously. It would be fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. I think that that's the way to go. I think actually having an ultimate dictator. The only thing is that you have to have a guy that's not corrupt. But then it's like if they are the dictator, then there's always that chance that the power takes over and all that kind of stuff. I think you have to have Ron Paul be the emperor of the United States. That's how we solve everything, right? Right? Am I right? Yeah, I'm right. Ron Paul, he's a genius. I love how every debate that he's been in, he's utterly dominated everyone's face completely as far as debates. Like, my favorite thing is just like, huh, there's countries where we're at where we don't want to be there. Well, we say we don't want to be there. We say we don't want to be there. They don't want us there. And we're spending billions upon billions of dollars to be there. So why the hell are we there? And it's just like, oh, because there's oil there, or there's something there that we want, obviously. But it's just like, okay, we could be saving $1 billion every single second of the day if we just, would bring back all these troops because we have, 10 quadrillion people deployed in all these different parts of the world. And it's just like, it's like Bill Maher says on Crazy Stupid Politics, where he's like, we still have the U.S. stationed in Germany and stuff. Isn't that pretty much a cold case by now? I think it's been a good enough time after World War II that we can just kind of, back out of there. But no, apparently we can't. We're so scared, or we're so threatened, or like it's just one day I just hope that the freaking government is just like, all right, we're gonna try to start an all-out war with the U.S. In which case, I don't have a problem with that. I just go to Canada, whatever. It's not it's not my affair. Once the next great collapse comes, if it's big enough, if it's harsh enough, if it really screws over enough people, just go to Canada, whatever. Not a big deal. They're actually every country is conspiring against the U.S. To get rid of our dollar, because everything is based off of the U.S. dollar. If you guys didn't know that, the world reserve currency is considered the U.S. dollar, and all these other countries have had private meetings, like literally like Japan, China, India, Russia, France, parts of Europe. All these places have had meetings that are like, okay, how do we get rid of this? Because the U.S. is going under, and it's going under fast. And if we have all of our money based off of their money, then that means that we would suffer a massive hit too. So now in places like Cuba and China and all that kind of stuff, they don't even accept U.S. money anymore. They're like, nope, it's literally a piece of paper here. It's nothing. And that is completely understandable and respectable. I think they said that China paired up with Russia, Japan paired up with India, to like almost like fuse their dollars in a way to make them more. I forget what the word is. Basically to so that they can exchange them better in a way. And they've done all this without the U.S. knowing, really, and without even inviting the U.S. to these little meetings and whatnot. But it's smart. It's definitely smart. They definitely see it coming. And what I love is how big industries they're all starting to set up shop in all these places. China, India, all these different places, because they actually know that this is about to happen. It's so funny when you have a big company like Apple. This is the point that we've gotten to, where it's just like, yeah, where Apple comes out and it's like, how do you not pay so many taxes? Like, how are you saving so much money? And they come flat out and say it. Well, the U.S. government is so stupid. They have so many loopholes and blah blah blah. We just set up shop in Ireland, and then it gets siphoned that way and whatever. So we only have to pay 1/6 of taxes. So realistically, the only people that are paying taxes are middle class citizens. But who the hell didn't know that? But you know what I'm saying. It's just ridiculous because we might have a fighting chance if all these big industries were taxed properly. But no, just because the U.S. government has so many freaking dumb loopholes, we just need to burn it all. You just have to burn it all and have one dude up there that's just like, okay, we should do that. Just like, why don't we send these people over there and spend $1 trillion? Stupid. Why don't we just do this, do that, we do this, that'll do that, which will cause us to spend $1 billion, but we could have something else. It's like, okay, you know what? You're going in a straitjacket. I think half the people in office, in Congress and the Senate and all that, they all need to be, half of them need to be in straitjackets. Not to mention the fact that half of them are freaking, they have this 1950s and 60s mind setting, which is utterly ridiculous because people have been in those positions for too goddamn long. I'm going on a what's his name? How do I forget this name? He's so smart. I forget. He is always on talking like this, and the government. I forget his name though. Maybe you guys can comment on that. Let me know which it is. But yeah, you guys know what I'm saying though. The government's corrupt. The U.S. government's more corrupt than any other government out there. Duh. Hands down. Freaking, fascism and communism from fucking the 1940s look like a fucking walk in the park compared to where we're at now, to be honest. Like, it really does. Ron Paul, that's all I can say, folks. He's so smart, and he's like, well, why are drugs illegal? Well, because they're bad. Bad for who? Well, the people. They're bad for the people, and they can cause injury. And then it's like alcohol, cigarettes, certain pain medications. Obviously, all pain medications, freaking opiums and opiates and all that kind of stuff. Those are freaking the worst thing for your liver, for your central nervous system. Even like there's like Tylenol PM or like something like that like literally just I forget which medication it is, but it's like what a lot of people buy, some sort of Advil or whatever. But it apparently like destroys your liver and whatnot. But pot is horrible. Freaking. Mushrooms are the worst thing in the world, even though you can't OD on mushrooms. You can't really OD on... You can OD on cocaine and, meth. But, the thing is that if you made all that shit legal, it would just make things a lot more simple because then it's like... I feel like people would almost have more control over it. Yeah, But no. I'm just stupid. I'm just this little ignorant child that doesn't know anything about how the world works. Completely ridiculous. But... one day we'll be a little more progressive. One day we'll wise up a little bit once all the fucking old people die, and then we'll be able to run everything, and we'll run it the way that we want to run it, and we'll run it smart, and it'll be fantastic, guys. That's all I can say. It'll be great. I think I'm gonna call it quits on the podcast there. I don't know how long this is. I think I've gone on for maybe like 10-15 minutes. I can only see the measures of 123 seconds or whatever that says. I don't know. But there's like 10,023, my bad. But anyways, so that's pretty much it. If you guys like the podcast, like I said, please subscribe. I'm going to be releasing a lot of new content, trying to be in some private interviews with a lot of people here in the Denver area. And maybe post some of my stand-up in the future on here and all that kind of stuff. So thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in, and I'll talk to you the next time I talk to you. Have a good one.